Hello and welcome back to the Perch from the Wyoming Tribune Eagle. This week we'll be talking about nuclear energy and TerraPower, Bill Gates' energy company, bringing Wyoming's first nuclear power plant to the state and hoping to revolutionize the industry that has been in decay for some time. But before we get into that, let's check with our reporters here. Ivy Seacrest, our crime and public safety reporter, what have you been working on lately?
I've been working a lot on covering the school board of trustees races that are going to be on the ballots in November, specifically for Laramie Community College, or Laramie County Community College, Laramie County School Districts 1 and 2 as well. And one of the biggest developments in that kind of race that happened last week is that we had a candidate drop after the Republican Party condemned his run. Anthony L. Schmidt is a registered sex offender and was previously running for the Laramie County Community College Board of Trustees. After the letter was published by the Republican Party, he received such backlash from the community, and through that backlash and through conversations with his family, he decided that it was best for him to step down. The incident in question happened in 2002 when Schmidt was caught in a police operation thinking he was speaking with a 14-year-old boy. He met up with the suspected 14-year-old boy, and it ended up being law enforcement. He was arrested and admitted to at least one prior relationship with a minor who was a 17-year-old that he believed to be 18. Schmidt has made several comments about how he feels that he has paid his debt to the state and to the county, and that he's changed a lot in the time since that happened in 2002, and that he hasn't been convicted for any reoffenses since. But the Republican Party made it incredibly clear that they felt that they were responsible for condemning this run and informing the community of who their candidates are, even though this is a nonpartisan seat that he is running for. The Democratic Party didn't necessarily condemn Schmidt's run. However, they did clarify to the public that your party doesn't necessarily impact whether or not you're going to be a criminal, and any criminals who have been convicted for their charges should serve their time, and that they support the legal system in that way. And so, one less person running for Laramie County Community College. The race is down to 6 contenders as opposed to 7.
Thank you, Ivy. Now, Taylor Staples, our arts and entertainment reporter, you're joining us for this news section again this week. What's going on with you?
Last week, I wrote about Community Action of Laramie County. They recently moved to their new building in July and had their open house mid-August. Community Action is a local nonprofit that aims to help reduce poverty and help the homeless become more self-sufficient through a multitude of programs. It's existed for a while, but in recent years, they moved from only emergency services to their self-sufficiency initiative. One of the 4 programs they have right now is their Crossroads Clinic. With this, they help to make healthcare accessible to those below the federal poverty line, the homeless, and people who suffer with opioid addiction. They also have their Kinship Support Services program, which is a support group for older adult caretakers of kids 18 and under who don't have their biological parents taking care of them. But sadly, that program is being transferred over to the Wyoming Senior Citizens Incorporated on October 1st. Another program is their Housing for Homeless Veterans and Transitional Housing for Homeless LGBT citizens and women, as well as families. And finally, the Transitional Housing Program is a part of their self-sufficiency initiative, which ensures that not only are these people taken care of, but they can learn to take care of themselves after the program ends.
Thank you, Taylor and Ivy. Now, here's what I learned about the new nuclear energy plant in Kemmerer this week. Across the country, there's currently 54 operational nuclear power plants, and of those, only 3 of them have become operational since 1997. And earlier this year, in June, a new plant broke ground near Kemmerer, Wyoming, with the hope to innovate and revitalize the industry. Last week, I went to hear Chris Levesque speak about this. He's the president and CEO of TerraPower, who's the company constructing this new plant called Natrium that's slated to become operational in 2030. Currently, about 20% of American energy is powered from nuclear sources. However, domestic nuclear plant production began to significantly drop off in the 1990s due to a variety of reasons like high costs, regulatory and safety concerns, competition from other energy sources, and just an aging infrastructure. Levesque said that innovations in the industry are much needed to address the climate crisis.
But the U.S. was really overdue for innovating in nuclear energy. So that's why TerraPower was created. We worked on our technology in the lab and our computer models in the early years. And then we brought things, around the 2020 timeframe to where we were at the point to start a demonstration project, which means go out and build that first reactor. And one thing we knew, and we've always known in TerraPower, is that nuclear is different. It's not just like any business. It's geopolitically significant. It's an international competition. We're competing with China and Russia. They're going to build nuclear plants all over the world to project their power. So even though we're a company and we're privately funded, anything you do in nuclear needs to be in partnership with the U.S. government.
TerraPower was co-founded by Bill Gates in 2008, and they see this project in Lincoln County as an investment in demonstrating the innovation in the nuclear power industry, growing domestic energy production, and increasing geopolitical power. At around $4 billion, this project is expected to generate 345 megawatts of electricity, with the possibility to store up to 500 megawatts of electricity for 5 or more hours. Based on the energy consumption of the average American household, 345 megawatts of energy could theoretically power around 285,000 homes at one time. In 2020, TerraPower won a $2 billion grant from the U.S. Department of Energy to help realize this vision that was the Natrium plant in western Wyoming. The rest of the funds, Levesque said, would be sourced from private donors and even from Bill Gates himself. Now, what brings this project to the next generation of nuclear power is demonstrated both in the ways that the power is created using sodium-cooled fast reactors and how it's stored using molten salt energy. So instead of pumping water through the reactor to remove the heat, TerraPower will melt sodium, which has a low melting temperature, and use the liquid metal to cool the reactor. Just like other nuclear plants, this energy is created through breaking the uranium atoms to release heat, similar to how many coal plants generate heat through breaking a hydrogen molecule. Sodium has been used as a coolant since the 1950s, but Levesque said that the way they'll be doing it will be safer, more efficient, and more economical. Natrium will also use molten salt storage, which is a technology that's already in use today, particularly at a lot of solar farms, and that brings more flexibility to how much energy the plant can offer to the grid. So as energy transitions to renewable sources, it can be difficult to meet the fluctuating demands throughout the day when energy sources like solar or wind can be unreliable if there's no sun exposure or there's no wind blowing. So these batteries allow the energy to be stored when it's not needed and then transported throughout the grid whenever the demand is higher than the production at that point in time. Levesque shared the importance of leveraging the resources in Kemmerer that were available to the coal industry there that preceded it. This includes sourcing local labor and expertise, the cooling water available from the Hams Fork River, and the grid connectivity. Earlier this year, TerraPower submitted a 3,700-page application to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. If this and future applications are approved, the plant could be operational for 80 or more years.
Folks in Lincoln County were really patient. We were talking about this project for 3 years, and we really enjoyed great support there, great patience, and we're so happy we've mobilized on the site now. Because now that we've mobilized, we will have a continuous presence on the site in Kemmerer until construction is complete in 2030. And this plant, just like today's reactors, is going to last 80 or more years. So we'll be around in Wyoming for the rest of the century, at least.
While he noted that this is an important step towards increasing domestic clean energy production, Levesque also said that it's important strides toward national security. He said that electricity demand in the U.S. and other developed countries will triple between now and 2050 to power the growing demand for electric vehicles, data centers, artificial intelligence, things like that.
Data security and energy security really go together. We need to add a lot of electricity generation in the U.S., or we're going to see more data centers be built overseas, and we're going to have more of our data overseas. So electricity security, energy security, and data security go really, really closely. So again, even though we're a private company, I'm ex-Navy, as you heard. I'm very red, white, blue. You know, what we're doing is important for our company, for your community, but also for the nation.
At the event, one attendee asked about how they were planning to manage the hazardous nuclear waste. Levesque said that they'll store it in the fuel waste containers in the short term, but in the long term, they'll be storing them in geologic repositories once the U.S. government identifies the ideal location for that. He also noted that he does not advocate for reprocessing some of the used fuel because it can be expensive and could be adversely used if it falls into the wrong hands. When another attendee asked about sourcing for the site, Levesque didn't directly address where they'll be sourcing all of their supplies from, but he did note that sodium is fairly simple to make, but that the U.S. market has declined when sourcing nuclear-grade pumps and heat exchangers. He said he hopes that this investment in Wyoming will stimulate the domestic supply chain, though. The energy produced at this plant will be sold to Pacific Core, which is known as Rocky Mountain Power in Wyoming and Utah and Idaho, and Levesque said that a price has not yet been set. Beginning next year, TerraPower will start construction on the facility's energy islands, including steam turbines and other power generation equipment, and they hope to begin construction in 2026 on the nuclear island, containing the reactor and the related systems. And the full construction of this is expected to take around 5 years.
Last week I wrote an article on the Greek Fest, which is coming this weekend, September 13th and 14th. And I just wanted to pose a question to you guys. What are you most excited for the Greek Fest?
It might be a bit basic, but I'm really excited for the food. I really love Mediterranean style cuisine, and so I'm really excited to have access to that for the weekend, as well as ouzo. Ouzo is a dry anise flavored aperitif, so similar to like a Campari or something you would have in like an Aperol spritz. But I would say it's better. It's such a like fun little beverage type to have. So if you are over 21, I highly recommend trying it this weekend.
Also, fun fact with that, Vino Liquors, this is the first time they're coming to the Greek Fest, so that's why there's wine and ouzo shots this year, so that should definitely be fun. But to go on with the food, all the desserts sound amazing, especially the bougatzes, which is the custard wrapped in phyllo, which is like a dough. That sounds fantastic. Gyros are obviously going to be fantastic. Greek salads are great. So excited for the food.
Yeah, I'm excited for the food too. I hope I can make it. I'm also looking forward to the music, which seems cool, and the dancing. I bet that'll be fun. I don't know anything about it, but I can give it a go.
Give it a go.
Yeah.
Greek music is supposed to be upbeat, so I feel like it's going to be a jamming time.
Sure. Great. Well, thank you, Taylor Staples and Ivy Seacrest, for contributing to today's episode. That's all for this week. Be sure to tune in next week.